Good afternoon. Greetings from Chicagoland. This is Munira, the CEO and founder of Kismet Ventures Inc. I am I have a YouTube channel and it is by my name, but I have a segment there called Munira's Musings. Also, I am a John Maxwell certified coach, and right now I am on the verge of looking for and finding people who are adding value to other people's lives. Um, I am once I find them, then I expose them and promote them on my channel. And my guest today is Pat Roque. Hi, Pat.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm very humbled. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
So it's funny. I have had my business for 30 years, 30.
Wow.
It's not a long time. And my background is in marketing and business growth and development, and was an entrepreneur at a very, very young age, as you can tell, and learned that life is not a straight line up or down or this boring kind of flat line across the middle. And when I turned 50, had a major meltdown, as we say. You ever have or know someone who's had that little midlife, it all hits the fan at the same time?
Yes.
And so I was given an opportunity to watch my life change before my eyes. I got one of those phone calls on the Friday afternoon in the ShopRite parking lot saying, "We've lost our funding, don't come back. There's nothing here for us. We love you. You're awesome. Goodbye." And in the middle of menopause with 2 kids in college, and I was the primary breadwinner, watched my whole life turn upside down in a matter of about 10 minutes. And of course, I walked in ShopRite and cried all over the mustard. It was terrible. But I realized at that moment that I had 2 options. I cried for months and months and months, and that's not me. And one day, on my 50th birthday, my best friend, having watched me struggle through this, went, my birthday's in March, she went to a local garden center. She pulled up 50 rocks, she scrubbed them and painted them gold, and wrote 50 things that are special about me and put them in a box that said 50 rocks and so do you. And I used this gift. Look at this is a book that I wrote as a result of it. It's called 50 Rocks Life Lessons for Success. I took pause and realized that no matter how bad life seemed at that moment, that it really wasn't so bad, and that I did have gifts and I did have value that I needed to bring to the world, and that people were waiting for those gifts. And I started blogging on LinkedIn, 1 rock at a time. And from there, started calling it 50 Rocks Life Lessons for Success. And people started calling me and messaging me from around the world and hiring me as a motivational speaker to teach them or you how to find your gifts to the world. And my gift is now helping people like you find out why you rock, what makes you special, and then basically how to get paid well doing more of what you really love without selling your soul or losing your mind. So in the last 4 years, the Rock On Success brand was born, and I've written 2 books and a few more on the way, and been speaking and coaching around the world and just enjoying life and meeting nice people like you.
Awesome. This is awesome. So it can happen, right? It's life. We I have youngsters. So as youngsters, we all think, okay, once I graduate college, I'll have a corporate job and life is going to be all fine and dandy. And, it's not like that, because there's ups and downs at any given stage. And when it hits us at 50, it hits us hard, right at the gut. And for a minute, it takes our breath away.
That's a great way to think about it. It absolutely does. And sometimes change comes when you plan, but quite often, I believe God taps. So we have to find the lessons and the learning even in the most inopportune moments, in those times when you feel like it hits the fan. There are no coincidences, I believe. So I've looked inside and try to figure out what the lesson was. What am I supposed to know? Why, once I not broke, but really almost broke my leg. I was on crutches and a brace from my ankle to my thigh. And I thought, why is God doing this? It was a beautiful day. I was on vacation. I got hurt. The first hour of my vacation ruined my whole President's weekend. And I realized at that point, I found my new love, which is playing golf, just because I was looking for something else. And I realized that I needed another way to network with people. I wanted another outdoor activity, and my manager helped me discover that golf was the best networking tool. So I found a passion for something I didn't know I was looking for, and I would have never slowed down long enough to pay attention if not for having been injured. So I try to find the blessing even in those really not so pretty moments.
Well, that's awesome. So, you're teaching us something where most people don't see the silver lining, right? And they are either begrudged and angry, miserable, sad, and take it out on their family.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I always say it's not literal, but the proverbial kicking the dog when you get home. And I think that happens when people feel like they are selling their soul or losing their mind. They feel like they're working in a way that is not aligned with their value system, that they're either underutilized or underappreciated. And then you come home and think about it. Work, your career is another kind of a marriage, right? Because you spend so much time, most of us do anyway, in our career, that I believe you deserve to do something that you're really great at and kind of in your zone of genius. Because when you're happy like that, time flies and you love what you do and you get paid well and you don't watch the clock. And I'll tell you that I've learned that I'm definitely in my zone of genius because people keep telling me that they prayed for help and I showed up. Or I know that you're speaking God's words. Like, it might sound silly, but multiple people, this happens all the time. So I'm listening and honoring it and saying, I guess you're right. Absolutely. And feeling much happier because it's not just marketing. It's about helping people move ahead in a way that really serves their spirit and helps them feel really good about themselves and helps people like you serve the world in a bigger, better way. So it's not about me. It's about me really honing in and paying attention and helping you be the best you that you can be. It's fun.
Yes, and so I see the enthusiasm and the happiness that you are radiating right now, because this is not everybody is happy. Many people have had to struggle. So let me go back. Were you in a corporate world? I had 4 internships when I was in college. So I used to find cool jobs and then go back to the dean and get special permission. So I worked in corporate. I worked at the Meadowlands racetrack in a public agency. I worked for a pharmaceutical company and I worked for an entrepreneur. So I had 4 different kinds of environments, worked in a big ad agency for a number of years, and then had my car accident and then wasn't well enough to work. When I turned 40, I reinvented myself, got my master's degree, and I worked in big corporate and places like WebMD and Everyday Health, big, huge $500 million companies and things. And so I've been able to be on the entrepreneurial side, the educator side, as well as on the inside of those crazy corporate walls. And I felt quite a bit smothered when I was there. I will tell you that. I realize now that I didn't exactly fit in because it was constantly a matter of you'd bring ideas and you didn't necessarily get a chance to implement. And so it's great for some people, but I think the big lesson was that, especially now, corporate America is not an insurance policy. There is no such thing as job security anymore. And I am now the top recommended coach in the New York metro market on LinkedIn for career coaching, for life coaching, for executive and leadership training, and also training for public speaking. And I listen to people all day long come back and complain about they're afraid they're losing their job, or they feel trapped in the role that they're in, or they know they deserve better and they can't seem to communicate their value proposition. So I've created plans to kind of help people. Having been on that side, I understand and I empathize, and that definitely helps
bring smart solutions that are going to make sense for them. You need to have walked the walk, I guess, to have to understand it in the best way possible.
Well, that's so true, because I'll tell you my story. When I about 4 years ago, I was with the corporate company of what I thought was my dream company, and I had been affiliated with this company for over 10 years prior to being hired. And when I did get hired, I was so happy, enthused, ready to take on the world, doing 80-hour weeks and traveling all over the place, which was fun. I made a lot, I networked a lot. However, when the time came, they didn't hesitate to chop me out. We got an email at 7 p.m. on Sunday evening. Most of us that were regional managers were supposed to be on it. And I had a call just 15 minutes before our call. I had another regional manager called me, and she says, "What's going on?" I said, "I have a feeling that we are going to lose our job." She goes, "Don't say that." And I said, "What do you think? I mean, if they were going to give you a promotion, then just send you a letter, you know." And they did give us a job right there. Then a year later, within so many months, I found another job with another Fortune 500 company. And a year later, they let me go because, it wasn't working out. They were trying to put their foot into the healthcare segment, and it wasn't working out because their competitor took all of their ideas and ran with them. And the competitor had a good foothold in the healthcare industry. Then I went to a local law office here, and even though I had experience, I worked with lawyers, and I didn't, lawyers are a different breed of people. So they had their own ideology and everything, and, so it turned out that I was not a person that was chained to a desk, could not do that. I had had my freedom for 7 years that I was traveling everywhere. Now you're telling me to sit behind a desk doesn't happen. So we discussed options, and then, finally, we discussed and we figured out that it wasn't for me. And I realized, this is God telling me that, hello, you've got 3 chances, start your own business, reinvent yourself. You've got all this training that you've received, and you've met so many people, so reinvent yourself. And that's what, we had to do. And it's not easy. It's not easy. So I want to learn about your journey. So your friend what you said was your friend took 50 rocks, and she polished them and wrote something. Each rock meant something.
Each rock has 50 things that are special about me. So one says best friend, one says great mom, one says confident, hardworking, one says bitchy, one says weird, one says drinks wine, plays golf. I mean, all the different facets. And she put it in this beautiful box that said 50 rocks, and so do you. And of course I cried some more, because that's all I did was cry at the time. But it inspired me.
But not everybody has a friend like that, right?
I know. No, they do not.
This woman needs to be cherished always.
Yes. I usually embarrass her to no end, and I invite her to many of my public appearances, and I make her stand up, and I tell the story, and she turns beet red, and it's a lot of fun.
And then so many of us don't have a friend like that.
Sure.
But you had this idea. So you took the rocks, and so take me to the path where you now received the box, you cried some more. And how did you decide that each rock was a chapter or lesson or something that in your life?
Well, I firmly, like I said, I believe that God taps, and I just sat there crying, and I'm picking up these rocks, and I'm holding them, and I'm rubbing them, and I just started paying attention, really, simply paying attention and thinking about what does it mean? Why did she put it, and what does it mean? And I was not in a great mental headspace at that point. In fact, I started taking antidepressants. I was in such a tailspin, and then they gave me suicidal tendencies, which is really a scary, scary thing. I said out loud one day, I should just throw myself off a bridge and no one would care. And I frightened myself Like when I say I hit rock bottom, I am absolutely not exaggerating. And I share that very personal moment because people will look at me some days and say, wow, she has everything. She's on top of the world, blah, blah, you know, that thing. And that's why I say, you know, enjoy the good days and realize that the rougher days don't last forever. I just looked and there was an answer. And I couldn't picture what 5 years down the road was going to be, or 10 years down the road. So I decided to think about what maybe I could hope for a year from now. And then I realized that sounded like too much. And then I went to 90 days and I was taking these rocks and I was just thinking about, so right now it's the summer, 4th of July just passed. So by the time Halloween rolls around, let's say, what do you wish to be different in terms of your family, in terms of fun, in terms of fitness, finances, your fabulous career? I had to take my mess and think about it in really, really simple terms because I couldn't handle any more than simple terms. So that's when I started jotting notes. I started blogging on LinkedIn, one rock at a time. It just came to me. Nobody told me to do it. I just did it. And then it started resonating with people. And then in the meantime, I was coming up with these systems and little things to make myself feel better. I wrote an abundance and gratitude meditation. That's actually a page in the book. I talk about honoring your why and about getting clarity and focus. So every morning I, meditate and recite this to myself. And in the evening, and I always say to people, do it when you're brushing your teeth so you remember at least twice a day. But it just, I was inspired. It just came to me in the middle of the night and I started, and apparently I've created a movement with it. So honor those moments when God taps.
Yeah, but some people would argue that I don't know when he taps.
You know what? And I believe that.
When I lost my job, sorry about that, but when I lost my first job, I was like back into the market. Oh my God, what's going to happen to me, right? Now when people tell me you need to apply, I'm like, okay.
I just took on a new client today, right before this call, as a matter of fact. And she has a job, and she said she's suffocating. She said, I go there for the paycheck, and I literally feel when I walk in the door like it sucks the air right out of me. I am suffocating. I can't breathe. When I walk out the door, I can breathe again. And it's the most awful feeling. And I remembered that feeling. I used to hate my one job. At one point, I was working in healthcare and I sold a multi-million-dollar program, and my boss came in and said, well, congratulations. We just don't know if we can deliver on it, but you did a good job, but you might have to pack your bags and leave by the end of the year if we can't deliver. And I thought to myself, are you crazy? My reputation, my word is all I have. At the end of the day, when we go to the grave, that's all we have, right? So I couldn't go to work. I would get up every day and get on a bus and schlep into New York and then travel to Long Island. And how do you do that with integrity, working? Like, I'm thinking I'm in healthcare helping make the world a better place. And in the meantime, I find out I'm working for people who are now telling me that go ahead and sell, but we don't know if we can deliver. So the lack of synchronicity was just screaming loud in my ears. And I say that when the genie jumps out of the bottle, it's really hard to shove her back inside. But you have to honor. You said, how do you know? Well, you have to sometimes just slow down long enough to listen and pay attention. That's why I suggest meditating every day. Just take 10 to 15 minutes and breathe. Breathing is good. When you get stuck, breathe. When you don't know what to do, breathe. It's never a bad thing to slow down, take pause, and to actually physically breathe. And so sometimes when God taps, it's in quieter ways. It's not always such big, loud booms, like the fireworks on the 4th of July. It's not always that loud crash. Sometimes it's little subtle things, but just pay attention. Some people would call it that sixth sense, or their intuition, or that fire in their belly, or the devil or the angel on their shoulder. Everybody kind of thinks about it in a different way, but that gut reaction, that's a really important thing for you to pay attention to. And then I help people figure out, what do I do with it? Where do I go from here?
That's awesome. That no, you are you were right on the track, and it makes sense because the thing is, most people don't know, right? And everybody that I'm now talking to,
Right.
are fed up, if that's the right word, of their job.
Sure. That is definitely a good way to describe it. Fed up, disgusted, or some version of not happy.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make sense. So I have my kids also. I think they should listen to this segment because they think that America is the one and all, and they look for jobs. But I keep telling them you need to have a side something where you can bounce back to. So think about those things. You're not going to be young forever. Yes, you're going to be younger to me, but you're never going to be young as you are now.
Well, multiple revenue streams. So some of the things I learned the first 20 years of my business, think about it, it was before digital. So you traded time for money. You worked an hour, you got paid an hour. Except I would sell out my time and then hire people and sell out their time. But I was literally physically exhausted.
Yes.
Now with the onset of digital, I teach people how to build online courses, for example, how to monetize your genius so that you're not just making money trading time for money. Like as a coach, I don't just do one-on-one live coaching. I do things over Zoom so we don't have to travel. I have group programs. My best thing I do, I run a mastermind. It's a wonderful, wonderful, blessed place for like-minded people to come together so they get one-on-one coaching with me, but even more importantly, they get people get their own personal advisory council, like a board of directors. So you get to think out loud and grow faster and move forward and have them as your kind of field force out there representing you and helping you make connections and introducing you to their friends. And it's a fabulous way, but it allows me the freedom to do once, use many, take 1 hour and help a dozen people at a time instead of one-on-one. So, and it makes things more affordable too sometimes. So creating online courses, there's things that I do for under $500. I have a lot of free things or under $500, small little pieces. And then it goes, people that pay $25 and $50 and $100,000 a year to work with me. So you have the gamut, the range, but time is our most precious commodity. So I always make sure that we respect our own time and that I help you figure out how to make the best use of your time so that your priorities are aligned and you're happy at the end of the day. When you put your head on the pillow, you've been successful and happy and you can't wait for tomorrow.
That's great. That's very true because and this advice is awesome because this is the value that I'm looking for from you, because I know that this message is going to reach a lot of people and they're going to listen to you and they're going to say, this is exactly what I needed to hear.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure.
But thank you so much for your time. Any last words for our viewers?
Absolutely. So I have all kinds of ways to reach and help people. And if you go into the Rock On Success Academy, you would go to rockonsuccess.com/academy. There are a whole bunch of courses with many of them have free trials in them. So you can go in and learn how to create your LinkedIn profile makeover. I'm an expert on LinkedIn. I help coaches and other experts learn how to become a top recommended expert on LinkedIn through a program called ProFinder. That is amazing. So there is a ProFinder, a free trial. So you can go in and learn how to upgrade your LinkedIn profile and start to be found as the expert. So you then can take it and take your genius and help more people too. So I'm happy to make that available to your audience. And I guess we can probably put the link in the posting.
Okay. I'm sorry about that. I don't know where the phone is.
That's okay. No problem.
So thank you so much for that. And then go ahead and send me the link and we'll put that on people's websites on the LinkedIn description as well. And I appreciate you very much. Thank you. And I really am humbled for your time.
Oh, thank you. For myself as well. I appreciate getting to know you and happy to help in any way.
Thank you.